Welcome to the Embodied Wisdom Podcast.
Okay, so 2018 was when I lost my daughter, and there was a lot going on at the time. That wasn't let's say, the first hard thing that was happening. A little bit of the background story here is that I was in my mid 30s. I was not feeling super happy in my life, and I did not even understand why at the moment because life looked paper perfect. I've always felt that I'm a truthful person, so I did not know what was really going on. But I was starting to wake up crying. I had had my son before I knew what pregnancy was like, and this was my second time pregnant with my daughter. The pregnancy was going okay with doctors, everything was okay, my results were fine, but internally I was a very different person. So lots of things were happening. I was realizing that me and my husband, we were not getting along the way I thought we were. My life as such seemed very different. And I think probably one of the bigger things was that just this understanding that I was going to have a daughter, that was just very hard for me because I was thinking, well, she's going to grow up. I'm the mom. As a mom, you want to be your child. And I was thinking, well, when she's going to be born and if she's going to be like me, how am I going to teach her to be happy? Because in my eyes, I'd done everything so called right. I'd followed the right steps. I'd married the right guy. I'd done the right education. I was doing the so called right thing. And I was here and I was super unhappy. And I just did not want that for my daughter. So that was the other big thing that was playing, but also my life for me every day as I was realizing how much I felt stuck in my life. That was just getting and I tried different things at the time. I tried to really calm myself, but I wasn't ready fully to be able to see myself fully then. And then one day I woke up and I just slept very peacefully at night. So I woke up and I hadn't felt any movement. She was 31 weeks at the time. So, pretty big baby. We were preparing for a birth. It was just unlike how I should have felt at night. And so I went to the doctors and they told me that there was no heartbeat. And that was shocking. The next few days, they're still pretty much etched in my memory, but they were just so different than what I'd ever expected. And no parent plans. Anyway, I had to give birth to a stillborn, and I can talk about the physical things that happened during this time, but maybe I'll talk about these things from an energetic perspective. What was really happening now? What was different? So earlier, my life was hard, but it was so hard to see inside me that I was running away from that. And I would numb myself to the pain. I would deny. I would talk to another friend. I would watch TV, just all those escapist things to be able to not really see the pain inside. And here, this whole process was going. It's a very physical process because you have to give birth. You see the baby. When you come home, your body is still acting as if the baby is produced and the baby is not there. You come home, you find the bassinet, you have all the other things. So it's a very physical thing. And you can't just switch off and run away. You can't numb and run away. And what that process allowed me to do was because I could not run away, I had to feel my pain. There was pain in there for not connecting with her enough when I had her in my womb. There was shame because what kind of mom loses her daughter? There was a lot of guilt, good this, that, all those stories were coming out. I was surface wise on the journey of wanting to really connect with her. I thought that as a mom, I really want to connect with her and I want to speak with her. And I did that. That was a blessing that I got from the whole experience. That I found teachers and I got into energy healing. I got into Akashic Records reading and I connected with her. My connection with her was just like you and me, how we are sitting and talking, except that it was spiritual. I was closing my eyes. I was tuning into her spirit and I was asking her questions. And one of the first things I asked her was, well, are you okay? And I'm really sorry that I did this wrong. I'm really sorry I failed you. And her response was that I hadn't failed her, that I had a soul agreement with her prior to me even incarnating on life. And my soul agreement was that if I was wasting this life, that she should please come and help me out and wake me up.
Oof, got goosebumps everywhere.
Yeah. And so it was terrible in the human form. And also in the human form, we think like, I'm the mom, she's the daughter. And here, this is even an unborn child. She's already looking after me. But it was such a blessing. She'd been trying to help me see, understand that life wasn't great, that I should really wake up. Waking up means just being more aware. We think that we in the body are super powerful, and I'm not saying we are not, but we think like we are the ultimate forces in our life, as if we'll control everything.
As if
We will.
as if we are just the body.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally, totally. And we also think that we are able to control, or we try to control. But if we all just knew that we were souls living in bodies, we would start understanding more and more, not only that is this exercise futile, but also that you're harming yourself. You're actually going against the outer flow. You're going against the innate universal flow. You're so tiny compared to the universe anyway in the body. But when we don't work with the rhythm, it can feel as if life's working against us rather than tuning into the innate rhythm of the universe, understanding the flow, being aligned with that divine aligned path that you're supposed to follow, which anyways holds your abundance, holds your expansion, holds your empowerment, holds everything that you are seeking. But she was that gift. She taught me that, because till then I was running away from me. And in sense, I was running away from my inner flow. I was running away from the rhythm of the universe. I was running away from my purpose, from what I was meant to do. I just did not have the courage to be able to see inside. But when I could, all of that tapped in. So I thought I was connecting with her. I was being the mom. She was the biggest gift to me, because she changed my life before and after. And it's with such reverence that I share this story, because I want everyone to know that there's life where we feel hard, but that is where someone somewhere, the universe, is trying to help you expand, grow, and evolve.
I love that. So beautiful. Yeah, it's so interesting how we think we're just we're just the body, right? I lost my dad passed away when I was 11, and I have a better relationship with him now than I did when he was, walking around in a suit. And the interesting part is he's like given me family secrets. He's told me all this stuff in order to bring about radical change in my life, And so it's interesting that it takes someone passing over for us to really start digging into, okay, what are we here? Like, what is this? What is this life experience? Who are we? What am I here for? Asking those deeper questions. And his passing when I was 11 really allowed me to open up that door to really start digging into all those questions. And yeah, the connections we have with the non-physical they're very much there. You just got to find them in a different place, not use those six senses of our physical beingness. So here you go through this. You're kind of not in this happy place. You're kind of in this complacent, hey, doing all the right things. You were doing what you thought you were supposed to be doing. Then this radical thing happens and your daughter wakes you up. How does your life change from there?
Very different. And I had this myth before I got into all of this, because the path was taking me more towards meditation and more exploring myself. I had the myth about being Zen, that, the more you do this, life gets a lot more peaceful. But actually, what happened for me, and then I know for a lot of other people, is that when you start doing this stuff, yes, you start getting a lot more peaceful, because you start operating from your own center. You start being a lot more grounded. So instead of seeking someone else to help you be happy, to find the resonance within you, that power comes back to you. Now, this power also changes a lot of other things. If there are places where your boundaries have been crossed, if there are places where you need to actually have a little bit more say, or really go deeper into who you are, you start understanding those boundaries. You start seeing them, knowing them in a way like you've never felt before. There's a very distinct before and after. This is the first shift that happens. The more people try to tune in, your confidence, your power, your innate sense of you starts coming back in a completely different way. And there will be people who will be with you in this journey, And there will be people for whom this change upsets their life because they wanted you to be disempowered in a certain sense. Maybe they were consciously wanting it, unconsciously wanting it, but it really is a significant shift from that life. So outwardly, what happened is a lot of shedding initially.
Girl, I know that is true. My last podcast that I was on, we were talking about this very same thing about how as you up level, there's a lot of people that don't want to go with you. And because we live in a sea of motion and we're all on different frequencies, we're drawn to those in our frequency. So there's a lot that fall off. And we were talking about the loneliness that it feels like. I was telling her, I was like, I got to the point where I'm like, is anyone going to stick around? Is anyone else in my life now going where I'm going, or am I going to outgrow everyone? Do you know what I mean? It can feel like that at times.
Totally, totally. So I had different stages. First stage that I had was that my marriage wasn't working out.
Mm-hmm.
Until then, I was staying in and I had these questions that maybe I'm doing it for my son. It's best to stay together. It's a societal norm. And I used to feel wrong that if I am breaking up, there are people around me who can somehow live in relationships that are not perfect and they can carry on. And first of all, I had to move on with the barrier that it's okay, it's fine. And maybe they can live like that. And I just had to be okay with me owning my power. The first resistance wasn't anyone else, it was me. That I am shifting. Am I okay with that? And of course, that's the choice that I took, that this is what I'm going to do. And then other things happened with that. And by the way, as scared as we might feel during those moments, outgrowing stuff, when you are crossing your boundaries, I always feel it is like you are in a room and that room has light, but the room also has those four walls and you can't walk out of it. And you feel like you'll open the door and outside is darkness and you don't know what it is going to be like. And that is the fear that you will walk into it and you feel like it's going to be this unknown, scary place. But somehow the room gets to a place where you just feel like you are bigger and bigger and the room is just squeezing you in.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was like I couldn't breathe anymore. And so I was like, well, I just have to walk into the darkness. Whatever that is, I'm going to face this monster now.
Yeah.
But when you walk out, it's not dark anymore. It's like there's another room, much bigger room, much more spacious, and it's even more brighter, more light filled than what you had earlier. So there's a fear, there's a false illusion that there's a trap inside and this is all that you have. So the more I outgrew, it was uncomfortable. It is like coming into a new skin, literally. And then there's more expansion. There's more room to breathe, more room to be you, more room for other goodness to come in because there's just more space. So that happened for me as I walked out of my relationship, 8 years old marriage at the time, separated from my husband. We have a son together. And I used to feel that, oh, raising son with him, giving my or our son a co-parenting space that would be peaceful. It was just so beyond my wildest dreams because from where I was separating from a really toxic relationship to having that dream that I had in my mind where as parents we would be able to work together, where our son, even though the homes would be separate, would feel that, oh, they're connected, they're talking to each other, and I have a home with both of them, where even if he was with the other parent, he would still feel connected and knowing that he could reach out to the other parent, like there wouldn't be very solid boundaries in there. That's the vision that I had, and that's what I started working toward, not even fully knowing, believing that this could happen. But that was the first shift that happened. And it's amazing. I can say about 5 years in, and this is one of the biggest compliments I suppose my son gave. It was maybe just about 4 months after we'd separated. He was 4 years, incidentally, as well at the time when we'd separated. And for his language, I just told him that, mommy and daddy are separating because they don't get along very well and they will be happier when they are in different places. And so I'm driving back. I've just picked him up from his dad and I'm in the car. And kids have a way of asking you the most beautiful questions when you are driving on the road, just doing mundane things. And he goes like, Mommy, so why are you and Daddy not together? And I'm like, hey, hun, it's because we don't really get along very well. And he's like, no, but that used to happen. It's not like that anymore. I see you and you're happy. And sometimes, I have my friends and they're friends that I don't like very much. I fight with them, but I can always play with them. I'm sure you can play with Daddy too.
And that is what we tell kids, right?
Yes.
Right? Just get along with those kids that maybe aren't that nice.
So he was putting that perspective, bringing it back to me.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just driving. All I wanted to do was drive. But I had to take a pause and I had to explain it to him that, hey, hon, it's a little bit different than what I can explain to you right now. But mommy and daddy are really happier. And this is why we can be happy, because we are separated. And then after this, as we're going through this, there were other places of expansion, I would say, rather than the lack, where just like you, I was outgrowing stuff. I started this idea of calling every year as giving it a theme of what I wanted to do that year. I'm very lucky in the sense that my birthday is in January, so it sort of coincides with the year coming, and people make New Year resolutions. I give my year a theme. What is this year going to be about? The first thing that I discovered for myself as I was discovering my own identity, really becoming my own person, was that I did not really understand my boundaries at all. And it wasn't even always about other people, but I was so used to looking after other people that I just did not know who I stood for. The first memory that I have is a friend took me out for coffee and she asked me, what do you want to have? It was lunch. And she's like, what do you want to have? And I had a hard time thinking. If you had asked me, what does my son want? What does my ex want? What does anybody in the family want? I would have been faster answering that. But I had been so used to looking for everybody's needs while we had a meal that I would automatically think, oh, okay, if I have this, what is my son going to have? Maybe what is his second option going to be? And that would be my answer. So just thinking without anyone, a very simple thing as what do I want to have for lunch? That took me longer to decide.
I've noticed that to be true with a lot of women. With my clients, when I first start working with them, I ask them, what do you want? What do you want in your marriage? What do you want in this relationship? What do you want? And they're just like, they don't even know what they want. Hey, Tammy Cox here. If you're ready to stop repeating painful relationship patterns and finally create the love and connection you deserve, there is a way. Click the link in the description to schedule a call with me, and let's talk about what's really holding you back. Now, back to the show.
Yeah. And you ask them about what their family wants, they'll tell you everything. So that's where I was at. And at least the good thing was that I had the awareness at this time that this is where I am. So I gave myself the liberty of the year of no. I didn't start with the year of no, but I thought maybe for 6 months I'll do this and I'll just give myself permission to say no. And for 6 months, I'm not going to care.
That's brilliant.
What the other person is going to do. And I pretty much remember going to June, very much thinking like you, if I keep doing the no's, because it starts with the easier no's. Then I started understanding that there were relationships that were framed in the sense that they were supposed to be good for me, but I would notice my vibration after the interactions with the relationship, and I would feel that I was shrinking my size. It was too much in a way. I was changing how I was to fit into the relationship dynamic. And I was giving myself the year of no. So I said, okay, 6 months, I've got to do it. And I just reduced calling them. Sometimes I had to really have a chat and say that, look, this is not working out for me now. It used to, but I'm just becoming this different person. But June came and I was like, gosh, if I keep going at this stage, there's going to be nobody here. But again, fear, that was just false illusion. That was the room that I was in. Here I was feeling that I'm going to be totally alone. And what actually happening as I walked through that fear monster again was there was so much more expansion. I brought in so many aligned connections. To paint the picture, when I was separating from my ex, I was in a completely new city. I didn't know anyone. And even this dream that I would have people where I would be talking about stuff like this every day, it would be a normal thing. That was a dream. And now my world is only that. I have so many people, even family members, who had to adjust to me growing up, awakening, just being this different person. They had their own journey with that. And then they came along in their sense as well. But it's so different, the conversations we have now, or the way that I can present with my friends. I don't have to put on a mask. I can be. It is so liberating.
So delicious to be you, right? I'd say the majority of the world, they don't even know who they are. They've just been given all these masks that they've put on, specifically in early childhood, that they've just been wearing for years, and they don't even realize it's not them. They still don't realize. And I think it's beautiful when we get to the place. I feel like I'm constantly finding a new mask. Like, oh, what's this one? Keep throwing these masks away. But to know that we have the ability to pull these masks off one by one and figure out who we are. And it's by our desires. Our desires are letting us know who we are. And so just that permission you gave yourself for a year to say no to anything that felt uncomfortable to your body or felt constrictive. I always like to think of a yes in the body as being like expansive. And most of the time it's in my heart and it kind of like pulsates out like it's a yes. And then when it's a no, it's like, oh, small, crunchy, limiting. So when we really get in tune with our body and we feel the yeses and we feel the nos, and oftentimes because your subconscious mind is the first one to speak, so it'll be that first initial, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. No, 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 no. I love that. It is spacious, right? And we wouldn't think of it like that. But when we look at these conversations are really challenging me to look at the relationships and to really be like, the only reason why we would hang on so tight to these relationships is because we don't think another one is coming. And I know for me, every time I let go of one thing that was really challenging, something bigger and better and more aligned comes along. Always, just like you said. Now you have these kind of conversations all the time, but it's really that letting go process or that surrender to be like, no, I'm trusting. I'm fully trusting that I'm going to be supported in that next room that I'm walking into, right? I love that picture that you gave us too of like, oh no, you think it's dark outside, but you step out and it's this big illuminated space. That feels so freeing, you know? What a beautiful picture.
Thank you. And it is a lot of the archetypes in us. There is a child archetype that a lot of us have within us, which doesn't want to be alone. You know, for a child, one of the biggest fears is, hey, who's going to take care of me? And we'll even say things like, I don't want to be alone. I feel very unsupported. I want someone to look after me. That's what we are seeking in a relationship. That's your inner child speaking. It's really afraid of being abandoned, of being alone. And the answer that I've come to is that our spirit is never trying to torment us. It's actually not trying to punish us, but what it's doing with all these challenges, because we place so much of power in the outside, in the other person, in the societal norm, whatever that other is, that we get disconnected from our innate power. So it has to cut us off from those things. What it is really trying to do is switch off all those little lights that we feel is all we are. And it's trying to see us, trying to make us look and see the light within us. But if only we didn't make it that difficult, if only we didn't give the power so much outside. But like you say, as we are all growing up, we get programmed into all of this. We get programmed that this is how you're the good boy, you're the good girl, this is what you do. Even if those exact words haven't been used, we start understanding very early on what is the right thing to do, what is the way to behave, so that your parents like you, so that your teachers like you growing up, so that your friends consider you fit in. And you know, it doesn't stop there. Maybe you're trying to fit in college, but a lot of the dreams that you want, even now, they're all a process of matching as well to a huge extent, unless you decide very consciously to unmatch. A big money block, for example, that I will see with people is where they're afraid of having more money. Maybe not consciously, but they're afraid Because if you have more money than what your friends are making or than what your family is making, you're suddenly out of the fitting in norm. So you don't want to earn too much. And there's so many other examples like that.
Wow. I really want to get into the topic of the Akashic Records because you mentioned it. I want to make sure, first of all, everyone understands what Akashic Records are. So let's start there. What is the Akashic Records?
So Akashic Records is this mystical library that contains the story of everything. That contains my full story, this lifetime, all the other previous lifetimes. It contains your story, anybody, everybody, businesses, things that we all interact with. But how does that help? Let's get into it. Maybe think of your...
I think we should mention it's a non-physical library, because
Yes.
when I first started hearing about the concept of the Akashic Records, I'm like, okay, library, but it's a non-physical library, meaning it's vibrational or energetic, right?
And
it's an energetic place where we can go to retrieve information about everything.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think you were also giving a very big clue there because based on your vibration is what you're able to access. So how your inner vibe is, whether you are operating from contraction, whether you're operating from expansion. Expansion, by the way, would feel a lot like curiosity, would feel a lot more expansive. And then you're able to go in this place and you're able to explore a lot of things. But let me give a physical example that clarifies what this library can do for you. Imagine your life right now and just imagine being in a traffic jam. You're driving on the highway and your car is not moving at all. There are other cars around you. Everybody's going slow. You're sitting in the car and you're wondering, well, what's happening? I'm stuck. What happened here? Did a tree fall down? Was there a crash? But what is really going on? And that's a little bit actually like how life can feel stuck at times. You're stuck, it's not moving beyond a point in a relationship, or maybe you've moved out of one toxic relationship into another, but it's a different pattern, different people, but it's pretty much same in a way. And you don't really know what it will take to shift that pattern. So now imagine if you could fly up in a helicopter and have that bird's eye view and you could see, oh, okay, there are all these cars around. This is the reason. And let's unlock that. So let's make space for your car to move. Imagine you got that superpower. This is what accessing the Akashic Records does for you. You get an understanding of why you're stuck, why some pattern is repeating, or if it's not about a repeated pattern, why you were not able to expand in some sense. I was giving some money examples, how we can have a money ceiling. What is causing that ceiling? How you can go beyond that. It gives you that clarity because it knows your total picture. Another analogy that I'll give here is a think of an apple and then chop that up into 200 pieces. Just imagine. And then take out one slice. That slice is like your lifetime, your body right now that you're operating out of. The rest of the pieces, that's your soul story. But if your apple was scarred in some sense from previous lifetimes, previous experiences, if that had cuts and bruises, if that had rotten bits in places, chances are that when you take that slice out, that's going to have that impact as well. So whatever's gone on in your life, maybe previous lifetimes you had abandonment issues as well with your parents, with other families, and you don't quite know why that pattern is still coming up in your life. Sometimes you only get it by seeing the bigger picture because that's a theme that's played in your evolution as a soul so far. So that's what the Akashic Records do. They just give you a lot more understanding, awareness about you, the fullness of you, who you are. And by the way, not just the negative bits, not just the imprints. It gives you the ability to heal the whole apple, the whole soul blueprint. It also gives you the ability to tap into your wisdom, your knowledge, because otherwise you're disconnected from the previous time.
Is there any way you could do an example of this? A small
I can give you client examples. And maybe that will clarify the story.
Well, so you find the rotten bits. Then what do you do with it? What do you do with it to clear it, right? I think that's a big piece for some. So say they find the rotten bits. Oh, it's because of this, whatever. How do we clear it?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say this, that there might be a misconception in the world sometimes that there is somebody else who has a superpower, that they can access the Akashic Records or that they can do healing in some way. But I wanted to first dispel that myth and tell you that you have the power of healing you. Whatever specially gets in your awareness, it is coming into your awareness because you have the power to be able to heal it. So give yourself that permission. Start with that. Even if you don't know, I remember when I wanted to connect with my daughter, I had no idea. I just had a very clear intent that I wanted to connect with my daughter, and I would keep asking the universe that you've got to show me a way. You've got to help me connect with my daughter. And I'm encouraging everybody to do the same thing. Even if you have zero modalities with you, ask the universe for help. You're not disconnected. That is the outer flow. That is the flow that runs in you. This is why you have a body. They are super invested in you. You are not asking for a favor. They're super invested in your growth and evolution, because when you grow, you add a lot more value to humanity. You help the humanity grow. So it helps the universe to help you grow. They're fully invested in your growth. This is why your soul shows you all the pieces where you've got to work. So ask the universe, ask them for guidance, whatever your modality is. And if you have no modality, when you're just going out and finding that still place in nature or by yourself, ask the universe that this is how I want to connect. And when you connect, when you are in that place, ask to be either shown or be told things. If you do automatic writing, then you could do automatic writing. However things come to you, use that natural thing, but give yourself permission and ask the universe to help you heal. And then ask them to help you clear it. What do I need? And that often will be your beginning to a lot more expansive journey anyway, to start unraveling the rotten bits. So there is this energetic work that goes on, which is great. Then you need to integrate that within your body, because there's a spiritual side of it, and you might heal that. You also need to bring the new beliefs. Ask, what are the new empowering beliefs? And when you say that, they'll feel expansive. They might feel very new. Like in the beginning, when you start saying, oh, I'm safe, and you're coming out of, let's say, a toxic relationship, I'm safe might not really land inside your body. You'll say the words, but I'm safe feels very foreign, especially as you breathe and you let that breath run through your body. It will be like the breath could not fully go everywhere.
Right.
So watch that. The other trick that I teach my clients is, imagine there's this beam of energy. Maybe even imagine it like a white ball that flows through you. Imagine that falling in to the top of your crown and then traveling inside your body. So as this white bit goes, it's almost making a path. And then notice when you say that new belief, where is it stopping? Where does the ball stop? And that's the place where the belief hasn't been anchored in yet. But that's your clue that this is where you're holding stuff inside your body, and you need to work with that to be able to release that. And so bring that light there, bring your new belief there, put your hands there, because your hands are very energetic. They're soaking in the energy from the outer flow. They're also then bringing it to your body. You're able to touch yourself. Allow that belief to sink in. Make it your own. You might need a few sessions. That's okay. It might happen in that session. That's okay. But really allow that to land. And then do the exercise again with the ball. Let that ball go in again. See where it's going. See where it's not going. There might be times where you feel like you've done the full body scan, and then all of a sudden, maybe one of the wrist wasn't blocked and then suddenly it is. And that's okay, because you're just ingraining that belief in you at an even deeper level. So that's progress. That's not going back, but just repeat. Keep doing the exercise till you can really integrate that in the body. When you integrate that in the body, that is the time when your body gets permission to stop being the gatekeeper and really allow more of the expansive things to come in. You see, till then, body, or how we would sometimes refer as our shadows, our inner parts, they're actually looking out for you. They're wanting you to be safe. If you've had a toxic relationship before and now you want to attract a partner who's a lot more loving, but if you still hold the fear inside, your body is still stopping you from having a new relationship. I've seen that with my clients, where they walk in and they're at a physical level calling out and saying, hey, nobody's asking me out for a date. I remember my example where, and I even had this physical illusion that appeared so real to me at the time. I was in a fly in, fly out job. So I was hardly at home. I said, well, I'm really busy and all I'm doing is going out to the grocery anyway. Who's ever going to ask me out like that? I don't even have time. And maybe because I said it like that, as I was shifting through my energy, that's exactly what happened. I got out. I got asked twice at least, very clearly that I remember. Men just walking up and going like, hey, I was looking at you and would you like to go out with me? I'm like, this is so out of the blue, but I'd so called it into existence.
That's how powerful you are, girl. All you have to do is
I
doubt it, and it shows up at your doorstep twice in 1 week. No.
But it was the embodiment. I
Mhm.
was just starting to vibrate at that frequency and I was saying, I am lovable. That was my belief at the time. And that's what the world was showing to me. And due respect to all the men there, and thank you for showing that to me because I really wanted to hear it at the time. It was just a proof that things were going on. So that's what will happen for you as well. When you are clearing the beliefs, things outside will shift. I don't know how they will show up for you, but they will show up in magical ways. And that's how you know that you're shifting.
Absolutely. That was one of my life commands is I'm unlovable. And when I shifted that belief, you are so right. There was demonstrations everywhere of feedback coming in from everyone. I'm like, whoa, in all these different ways and facets, just showing me how I shifted that. So I love that example because it's so real for me. What was I gonna say? When it comes to with the Akashic Records, do you teach your clients how to access it for themselves, or do you access it for them?
I do both. So
Oh,
I offer Akashic record readings and healings.
uh-huh.
And that's why a lot of people come as well.
Hmm.
And then I offer a mentorship session as well. My mentorships are a little bit different. I tried initially putting on different courses, which I actually still do.
Hmm.
But then courses sometimes can be very empowering for people, but they're like a mixed bag. They may or may not meet you exactly where you're at. So now I love offering mentorships as well. And people come to me based on the challenges that they have. Sometimes it will be that they want to really learn about the Akashic Records, into tuning into them, doing it for themselves, doing it for clients. A lot of times they come because they want to expand. They want to have a business that is attracting a lot more aligned clients with a lot less effort. Sometimes people want to have a lot more conscious relationships. It can be different things. So I offer a mentorship, but Akashic Record reading and healing is a very big part with that. So every month, I will start off with the reading and healing because when I do this, it's going back to the apple again, right? Why a lot of people might sometimes feel that pull towards awakening, towards growing, and then also feel that it's really hard is because the ingrained patterns in there.
Yeah.
There's sometimes some imprints, there can be some darker entities as well that hold you back. There's a lot that's going on. It's like your apple itself, it just has an energetic darkish mesh around it. Sometimes the mesh is just around, sometimes the mesh is going through the apple, and it's constraining you in lots of different ways. So I often find that when I start off with the reading and healing, a lot of that's taken off, and then they're more receptive to the coaching because they're in a bigger room now.
Mm.
So every month, I'll do the Akashic reading and healing first, then we do the coaching session, and then a repeat. But this cycle meets them where they are at, but allows them to grow a lot faster, in my
Well, I could talk to you for days.
Me too.
I've enjoyed this so much. Thank you so much for sharing all your beautiful wisdom and your story, your powerful story. I thank you so much for just opening up. I feel you on such a deep level. And I'd love to have you back too. But for the sake of time, I simply must release you to go about your day because it's morning for you. But please do tell everyone where they can find you and find your work and all that good stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much. By the way, Tammy, I've enjoyed being here as well. I love the deep questions. Love to be sharing this work as well because I needed all of this when I was on my journey. So now it's my turn. Not in an egoistic way to give back, but I think this is how Earth grows. This is how we all evolve. So thank you for doing your part in here and sharing these stories, for being the person that you are. And thank you for letting me be in that place as well.
Yeah, it is my honor and privilege. Are you kidding me? I love what I do. It's so completely selfish for me.
And enjoyable and so expansive at the same time for entire humanity. So isn't that such a gift? Yep.
A win, 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 win all across the board. Yeah, absolutely. So yes.
Yes, and I love that. So I can be reached at Kanika Energy Coach on LinkedIn or on Instagram. Just give me a shout out, DM me. I will read your messages, respond to you. And what I love doing with someone who would like to work with me is offer them a free clarity call, because wherever you are at, I love to understand what are you going through, so that when we have a chat, I'll tell you what is the underlying energetic dynamic that's going on here and what your next paths can be. So you get to walk away with a more deeper understanding of things that are going on with you. That call, if you wanted to book that, is at art of life, LIFE Center, CENTER, artoflifecenter.com/call. Just go and book a clarity call with me, because I'd love to know where you're at. I'd love to be able to help you see the more expansive and the more empowered part of you.
And we will offer all those links in the show notes. So thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for being here. I have loved getting to know you. You're a beautiful soul.
Thank you so much, Tammy. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Mm-hmm.